You've been thinking about them non-stop, haven't you? Maybe it's someone new you're trying to draw into your life, or perhaps it's that person you've been with for a while, but the spark between you has started to fade. The truth is, most people approach these situations in completely the wrong way. They push too hard, wear their emotions like an open book, and end up driving the very person they want further and further away. It's a frustrating cycle, one that feels almost impossible to escape. But here's the thing, chasing someone, bending over backward to gain their attention, or being constantly available, is the quickest way to make yourself invisible. Think about it. Desperation never wins hearts. It's self-control, mystery, and independence that truly captivate. These qualities are timeless and powerful, the very traits that make someone irresistibly magnetic. And believe it or not, they're rooted in a philosophy that's been around for centuries, Stoicism. The ancient Stoics lived by principles that taught them how to endure hardship and rise above chaos. But these same principles can also teach you how to effortlessly attract someone. This isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's about developing a mindset so strong, so steady, that others can't help but be drawn to you. It's about living with purpose and confidence in such a way that you don't need to chase love. Love comes to you. Now picture this. You're calm, grounded, and centered in who you are, the kind of person who doesn't seek approval or validation from others, but who radiates a quiet confidence that speaks volumes. This energy is magnetic. It's not loud or boastful. It doesn't demand attention. It simply exists. And that's enough to captivate anyone. That's the power of embracing a Stoic mindset. When you stop trying to convince someone to care about you, when you let go of the need to prove yourself, something incredible happens. You transform into someone who naturally commands attention. You don't need to be at their beck and call. You don't need to flood their inbox with messages or play mind games to get them to notice you. You become someone worth noticing just by being your authentic, empowered self. Imagine walking into every situation with a sense of quiet strength, fully in control of your emotions and completely unbothered by external forces. That energy shifts the dynamic between you and the person you're interested in. They'll wonder why you're so composed, so self-assured. Why aren't you chasing them like everyone else? Why do you seem so calm and collected, even when they don't immediately give you the attention you might want? This kind of self-mastery doesn't just pique their interest, it commands their respect. Let's be clear. This isn't about withholding affection or playing hard to get. It's about realizing that your happiness doesn't depend on anyone else. It's about becoming the kind of person who has a rich, full life, one that doesn't revolve around anyone else's attention. When you embody this mindset, it changes everything. You don't just attract people, you inspire them. So, how do you get there? It starts by looking inward. Ask yourself, what kind of energy am I bringing into this connection? Am I seeking validation, or am I standing in my power? The difference is monumental. When you let go of the need for approval, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of chasing. And that's when real attraction begins. The truth is, people notice what's rare. When you stop doing what everyone else does, texting non-stop, overthinking every interaction, trying to anticipate their every need, you stand out. You become someone worth wondering about, someone who doesn't just take up space but creates it, inviting curiosity and connection. This isn't just about romance, it's about how you show up in every aspect of life. When you prioritize self-mastery, it's like sending out a signal to the universe. I know my worth, and I'm not afraid to live it. The right people will feel that energy and be drawn to it. And those who don't? They were never meant for you anyway. This journey starts with a simple mindset shift. Stop focusing on what you can do to make someone like you, and start focusing on becoming the best version of yourself. Invest in your passions, deepen your relationships with friends and family, and commit to your personal growth. The more you build a life that excites and fulfills you, the more magnetic you'll become. There's a powerful freedom that comes with letting go of the need to control how others feel about you. When you embrace that freedom, you open the door to connections that are rooted in authenticity and mutual respect. And those connections, they're worth everything. Let's explore something even deeper: the power of independence. Real independence isn't about pushing people away or proving you don't need anyone. It's about cultivating a sense of wholeness within yourself, a kind of emotional, mental, and spiritual self-sufficiency that's unshakable. When your happiness comes from within, it doesn't depend on someone else's attention, affection, or approval. And let me tell you, that kind of independence, it's magnetic. But I get it. You might be wondering, won't being too independent make them feel like I don't care? Won't they just move on? That fear, my friend, is exactly what keeps so many people stuck in unhealthy patterns of chasing. The truth is, independence doesn't push people away. It pulls them closer. When you're no longer clinging to someone, they don't feel pressured or suffocated. Instead, they feel drawn to you, drawn to the calm, confident energy of someone who isn't relying on them for their sense of worth. Think about it. What's more attractive? Someone who's constantly texting, calling, and needing reassurance, or someone who's thriving on their own? Someone who radiates the energy of "I'm good with or without you." That's the kind of energy that demands attention, not through loud gestures or endless effort, but through quiet strength. Imagine this scenario. You're interested in someone new. Everyone else is clamoring for their attention, always available, always trying to impress, but not you. You're busy living your life, pursuing your passions, connecting with friends, focusing on your goals. You don't drop everything the moment they text or call. You don't anxiously check your phone every 5 minutes, and that makes them wonder, why aren't they chasing me like everyone else? What's so different about them? That curiosity. It's the spark of attraction. People are naturally drawn to what they can't immediately have. It's human nature. And when you show that you're perfectly content without their constant validation, it creates a sense of intrigue that's impossible to resist. Now, let's say you're already in a relationship, but things have cooled off. Maybe your partner has become distant, and you're not sure how to bridge the gap. The instinct for most people is to chase harder, to text more, call more, try to fix the distance by being even more present. But here's the thing. When someone pulls away, the last thing they need is pressure. What they need is space. This is where your independence becomes your greatest asset. Instead of chasing, you lean back. You give them the room to miss you, to realize what it feels like when you're not constantly there. And during that time, you focus on yourself. You strengthen your independence, pour your energy into your own growth, and show through your actions that your happiness doesn't hinge on their attention. And guess what? That shift in energy is powerful. When they see that you're not clinging or chasing, it makes them reevaluate. They start to notice your value, not because you're begging for it, but because you're standing in it. This might feel counterintuitive at first, especially if you're deeply invested in someone. The fear of losing them can be overwhelming. But here's the truth. If someone pulls away because you're not chasing them, they were never going to stay in the first place. You deserve someone who values you without needing you to prove your worth over and over again. And the right person, they'll rise to meet you when you stand strong in your independence. This doesn't mean cutting them off completely or playing hard to get. It's about balance. You're still present, but you're not making them the center of your universe. You're not bending over backward for their attention. You're simply living your life, fully, vibrantly, and on your terms. The ancient Stoics knew the value of independence. As Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." How much time have you wasted chasing someone who should have been meeting you halfway? How much energy have you spent trying to prove your worth instead of owning it? It's time to shift that focus. Fill your own cup first. Build a life so rich and fulfilling that whether or not someone is part of it, you're thriving. Dive into that hobby you've been putting off. Take your career to the next level. Strengthen your social circle. Prioritize your health and well-being. When your life is full, you radiate an energy that's irresistible. If you're trying to attract someone new, don't be too quick to drop everything the moment they show interest. Keep living your life. Show them through your actions that your world doesn't revolve around them, and watch how their interest in you grows. And if you're navigating a relationship where things feel off, don't panic. Don't smother them with attention or try to force closeness. Instead, lean into your independence. Let them see that you're confident, self-sufficient, and perfectly capable of thriving on your own. This shift won't just change the way others see you, it'll change the way you see yourself. You'll realize that your worth isn't tied to anyone else's approval, and that realization, it's freedom. Now let's talk about communication, the kind of communication that makes people lean in, not pull away. Most people get this completely wrong. They think staying connected means constant texting, non-stop updates, and oversharing every little thought that crosses their mind. But here's the truth. Communication isn't about how much you say. It's about the impact of what you say. Less is more. And when you master this principle, you shift the dynamic in your favor without even trying. Picture this. You meet someone new, and instead of bombarding them with endless messages, you take a different approach. You communicate thoughtfully, with purpose, and then you step back. You let the conversation breathe. That silence you leave. It's not emptiness. It's power. It creates curiosity, space for them to think about you, wonder about you, and feel compelled to reach out. That's the magic of the less is more approach. When you constantly flood someone with messages, you're not building attraction. You're smothering it. You're giving off an energy of anxiousness, like you're trying too hard to stay on their radar. And let's be real, that kind of energy pushes people away. It screams insecurity, and insecurity is the antithesis of attraction. But when you hold back, when you show restraint, it changes everything. It signals confidence, self-respect, and a sense of mystery that others can't resist. Think of it like this. People value what feels rare. If you're always available, always responding within seconds, always initiating, you remove the element of scarcity. There's no intrigue, no anticipation. But when you pull back just a little, when you communicate with intention instead of desperation, it creates a sense of value around your words. They start to pay closer attention. They start to wonder about you. And that wonder? It's the foundation of attraction. Let's look at an example. Say you're texting someone new and they don't reply right away. The natural instinct is to send another message, to fill the silence, to check if they saw your text. But that's exactly what you shouldn't do. Instead, you wait. You trust that your initial message was enough, and you carry on with your day. That calmness, that lack of urgency, speaks volumes. It shows that you're not dependent on their response to feel validated. And trust me, they'll notice. Now, let's flip the script. You're in a relationship, and your partner seems distant. Most people react by over-communicating, texting more, calling more, asking endless questions to figure out what's wrong. But this approach usually backfires. When someone pulls away, what they need isn't more communication, it's less. They need space to process, to miss you, to realize the value of your presence without feeling overwhelmed by it. When you adopt the less is more approach, you give them that space. You send a thoughtful message, sure, but you don't follow it up with a string of just checking in texts. You let them come to you. And when they do, your communication is meaningful, purposeful, and impactful, not just filler to ease your own anxiety. This approach works because it taps into something fundamental about human nature. We're drawn to what feels balanced. Too much attention feels suffocating, while too little feels dismissive. The key is to find the sweet spot, where your communication adds value without overwhelming the other person. It's about showing that you're interested, but not dependent. And here's the best part. When you master this, you're not just changing the way others perceive you, you're changing the way you perceive yourself. You're stepping into a mindset of self-assurance, where you don't feel the need to prove your worth through constant interaction. You know your value, and that inner confidence shines through in every word you say or don't say. This might feel unnatural at first, especially if you're used to over-communicating, but like anything worth mastering, it takes practice. The next time you feel the urge to send another message, pause. Ask yourself, is this necessary? Does this add value, or am I just trying to fill a gap? If it's the latter, hold back. Trust that your initial communication was enough, and trust that your silence, when used strategically, can be just as powerful as your words. Imagine it like fishing. You don't throw 100 hooks into the water and hope one of them catches something. You carefully bait your line, cast it, and wait. It's the waiting that makes all the difference. It's what creates the space for the fish to come to you. The same is true in communication. When you speak with intention and then let the conversation breathe, you create room for the other person to engage with you on their own terms. The Stoics understood this principle long before texting was a thing. As Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we speak." Apply this wisdom to your interactions. Instead of trying to fill every silence, focus on the quality of what you say. When you speak or text, let it have meaning, let it resonate, and then step back and let it work for you. This shift isn't just about communication, it's about mindset. It's about recognizing that you don't need to prove your worth through constant words or actions. Your value speaks for itself. And when you communicate from that place of self-assurance, it changes the entire dynamic. You're no longer chasing, you're inviting. And that invitation is far more powerful than anything you could force. Now let's dive into something that can completely transform the way people see you. Emotional stability. If there's one trait that will make you instantly more attractive, it's this. Emotional stability is the quiet strength that makes others feel safe and drawn to you. It's the ability to navigate life's ups and downs without falling apart or letting your emotions dictate your actions. Here's the thing. Emotional stability doesn't mean you don't feel anything. That would be impossible. What it does mean is that you feel your emotions fully, but you don't let them control you. You don't let fear, anger, or anxiety dictate your responses. Instead, you approach every situation with calm, thoughtful intention. And that kind of control, it's rare, it's magnetic. Imagine this scenario. You're getting to know someone, and then something happens that would normally throw you off. Maybe they cancel plans at the last minute, take longer than usual to reply, or say something that hits a nerve. Most people would react immediately, letting their emotions take over, sending passive-aggressive texts, overanalyzing the situation, or trying to force an explanation. But not you. Instead of reacting, you pause. You take a moment to evaluate the situation calmly without jumping to conclusions. And when you do respond, it's with composure and clarity. That kind of emotional control doesn't just set you apart. It makes you unforgettable. It shows that you're not someone who's easily shaken, and that confidence is magnetic. Now let's flip the script. You're in a relationship and things get tense. Maybe there's an argument brewing, or your partner seems emotionally distant. Most people, in their desperation to fix things, would react impulsively. They'd say things they don't mean, send a barrage of texts, or spiral into overthinking. But this kind of reaction only adds fuel to the fire. When you're emotionally stable, you don't fall into that trap. Instead, you handle the situation with grace. You stay calm, focus on solutions, and approach the issue with understanding rather than blame. That steadiness doesn't just resolve conflict. It strengthens the bond between you and your partner. It shows them that you're not just a fair-weather companion, but someone they can rely on in the stormiest of times. This isn't just about romantic relationships. It's about how you handle every connection in your life. Emotional stability is what makes people see you as a leader, as someone they want to be around, as someone they respect. And the best part? It's something you can cultivate no matter where you're starting from. So how do you build emotional stability? It starts with self-awareness. When you feel emotions rising, whether it's frustration, fear, or sadness, pause. Take a deep breath and give yourself a moment to process before you act. That space, even if it's just a few seconds, is where you regain control. It's where you choose how you want to respond, instead of reacting on autopilot. For example, let's say you're texting someone new, and they take longer than expected to reply. Instead of sending a follow-up text out of anxiety, you remind yourself that their response, or lack thereof, isn't a reflection of your worth. You trust that your initial message was enough, and you shift your focus back to your own life. That calm, measured approach speaks volumes. It shows confidence and self-assurance, which are infinitely more attractive than desperation. Emotional stability is also about focusing on solutions rather than problems. When something goes wrong, don't dwell on what's broken. Think about how you can fix it. Let's say you're in a disagreement with your partner. Instead of getting caught up in who's right and who's wrong, shift your energy toward finding a resolution. This doesn't mean you ignore your feelings. It means you use them constructively. It means asking yourself, how can we move forward from this? That mindset isn't just mature, it's magnetic. And here's another important piece. Don't take things personally. So much of what triggers us in relationships has more to do with our own insecurities than with the other person's actions. If someone pulls away, seems distant, or says something hurtful, it's easy to spiral into self-doubt. But more often than not, their behavior isn't about you, it's about them. Emotional stability means recognizing this and not letting their actions shake your inner peace. This doesn't mean you'll never feel overwhelmed. Emotional stability isn't about suppressing your emotions, it's about managing them. When you feel like your emotions are getting the best of you, take a step back. Go for a walk, journal your thoughts, or talk to someone you trust. Do whatever helps you clear your mind and regain perspective. And when you're ready, approach the situation with clarity and purpose. The Stoics had it right when they said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." You can't control how others act or how life unfolds, but you can always control how you respond. That's where your power lies. When you master emotional stability, you don't just become more attractive, you become unstoppable. You become the kind of person others look up to, the kind of person they want to be around, the kind of person they can't help but admire. It's not just about staying calm in the face of challenges, it's about showing the world that you're grounded, resilient, and in control of your destiny. Let's shift focus for a moment and talk about how to keep your life busy, really busy, but in a way that's meaningful and fulfilling. Here's the truth. People are naturally drawn to those who have a full, vibrant life. Nobody is captivated by someone who's just sitting around waiting for attention. The energy you bring into any connection is directly tied to the richness of the life you're living. Keeping busy doesn't mean being chaotic or filling your days with meaningless distractions. It means building a life that's so engaging and purposeful that you become magnetic without even trying. When you live with passion and intention, people notice. They start to wonder, what makes their life so exciting? Why do they seem so fulfilled? That curiosity alone is enough to pull someone closer to you. Now, imagine this. Instead of waiting by your phone, constantly hoping for a text or a call, you're out there, fully engaged in your life. Maybe you're pursuing a hobby you're passionate about, working on a fitness goal, or spending time with people who bring you joy. You're not pretending to be busy to make someone notice you. You're genuinely immersed in a life that feels meaningful. That authenticity is what makes the difference. Picture yourself in this scenario. You're trying to attract someone new. Everyone else in their orbit is overly available, bending over backward to catch their attention. But you're different. You're busy building your world, one that doesn't revolve around them or anyone else. When you finally do interact, it's on your terms. You're not desperate or overly eager, and that makes you stand out. Or maybe you're in a relationship, but things have started to feel routine. It's easy to let your own interests fade into the background when you're focused on your partner. But here's the key. Don't lose yourself in the relationship. Keep pursuing your goals, nurturing your passions, and growing as an individual. When your partner sees that you're constantly evolving, it reignites their admiration and respect for you. Here's why this works. People are attracted to growth. When you're consistently learning, exploring, and improving, it signals that you're someone who's dynamic and full of life. It shows that you don't need anyone to complete you, because you're already whole. That kind of energy is irresistible. But let's be clear, being busy doesn't mean filling your schedule for the sake of it. It's not about appearing important or unavailable. It's about genuinely investing in yourself. Whether it's mastering a skill, diving into a creative project, or simply spending time with friends who uplift you, the goal is to create a life that feels rich and fulfilling. When you do that, everything else falls into place. Think about it like this. If your life is a book, every day should be a page worth reading. What story are you writing? Is it one of growth, passion, and adventure, or is it one of waiting, longing, and stagnation? The choice is yours, and it starts with how you spend your time. Let's address the fear that often comes up here. What if you focus on yourself and they lose interest? What if pulling back makes them forget about you? Here's the reality. If someone loses interest because you're living your best life, they weren't the right person for you. The right person will be drawn to your independence and inspired by your growth. They'll want to be part of your story, not the entire plot. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When your thoughts are focused on building a meaningful life, rather than obsessing over someone else's attention, you create a sense of inner peace that's impossible to ignore. That peace radiates outward, making you even more magnetic. If you're struggling to figure out how to keep your life busy, start small. Think about what excites you, what challenges you, and what helps you grow. Maybe it's learning a new skill, setting a fitness goal, or reconnecting with old friends. The point isn't to impress anyone, it's to enrich your own life. And here's the paradox. The more you focus on yourself, the more attractive you become to others. It's not about being selfish, it's about showing that you value your time and your energy. When you prioritize your own growth and happiness, you set a standard for how others should treat you, and the right people will rise to meet that standard. Let's pause for a moment. Imagine yourself a year from now. You've spent the last 12 months investing in yourself, pursuing your passions, and living a life that excites you. How does that version of you feel? Confident? Fulfilled? Magnetic? That's the energy you're cultivating starting today. Remember, it's not about trying to win someone's love. It's about living in a way that makes you proud of who you are. When you do that, love doesn't just find you, it gravitates toward you. You don't need to chase it, because it becomes a natural byproduct of the life you're creating. Now let's talk about the art of being present without being clingy. Striking this balance is one of the most powerful things you can do, yet it's something so many people struggle with. On one hand, you want to show someone you care, to be there for them in a way that feels meaningful. On the other, you don't want to smother them with constant attention or come across as overly needy. It's a fine line, but once you master it, it changes everything. Being present means showing up with your full attention and energy when it matters. It means engaging in meaningful conversations, listening deeply, and making the other person feel seen and valued. But being clingy, that's a different story. Clinginess comes from a place of fear, the fear of losing someone, the fear of not being enough, the fear of being forgotten. And that fear often leads to overcompensation, excessive texting, constant check-ins, and a desperation to keep the connection alive. Ironically, this only pushes people further away. So, how do you strike the balance? It starts with shifting your mindset. Your presence should feel like a gift, not a demand. When you're with someone, whether it's in person or over a message, be fully there. Listen to them, respond thoughtfully, and show genuine interest. But when you're apart, allow them the space to breathe, to miss you, and to come to you. It's not about playing games, it's about respecting both your space and theirs. Imagine this, you've just started seeing someone new. The chemistry is undeniable, and you're excited about where things might go. Most people, in their excitement, would go all in, texting constantly, initiating plans, and trying to keep the momentum going at all costs. But not you. You know the power of presence. You engage with them in meaningful ways, but you don't feel the need to be in their life every second. You trust the connection enough to let it grow naturally, without forcing it. Or maybe you're in a relationship, but things feel a little off. The instinct for many people in this situation is to cling tighter, to double down on affection and attention in the hopes of fixing whatever's wrong. But often, this only creates more distance. The key is to lean back, to give them space while remaining emotionally available. It's about showing that you're there when it matters, but you're also confident enough to let them have their independence. This balance doesn't just create a healthier dynamic, it makes you more attractive. People are drawn to those who can be present without being overbearing. It signals emotional maturity, self-assurance, and a deep respect for the other person's autonomy. It shows that you're not trying to control the relationship or the connection, but rather nurturing it in a way that feels natural and balanced. Here's a little perspective. Think of yourself as the calm eye of a storm. When you're present, you bring a sense of peace and stability. But you're not chasing the storm or trying to hold it in place. You're simply allowing it to flow around you, knowing that your presence is enough to create a lasting impression. Now, let's be real. Finding this balance can be challenging. It requires a lot of self-awareness and a willingness to let go of the need for constant reassurance. But the rewards are worth it. When you master this balance, you create a space where both you and the other person can feel valued and free. And that kind of connection is rare. So how do you practice being present without being clingy? Start by being intentional with your interactions. When you're with someone, give them your full attention, put your phone away, make eye contact, and really listen to what they're saying. But when you're apart, resist the urge to constantly check in. Trust that the bond you're building is strong enough to withstand a little space. Think about the moments in your life when you've felt the most connected to someone. Chances are, those moments weren't about the quantity of time you spent together, but the quality. It's the depth of your presence, not the frequency, that makes a lasting impact. And here's a little secret. When you give someone space, it doesn't diminish the connection. It strengthens it. It gives them room to reflect, to appreciate you, and to feel the natural pull of attraction. It's in those moments of absence that they'll realize how much they value your presence. As Seneca wisely said, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. This isn't just about romantic relationships. It's about how you approach every connection in your life. When you're fully present in the moment, but not anxiously clinging to what's next, you create a sense of ease that draws people in. Now take a moment to imagine yourself embodying this balance. You're fully engaged when it matters, but you're also confident enough to step back and let things unfold naturally. You're no longer chasing connections or forcing moments. Instead, you're creating an environment where love, respect, and admiration can grow organically. That's the kind of energy that makes people stay, not because they feel obligated, but because they genuinely want to.